slow. It's midnight now. She is on the phone. You don't know why, but you're like a stone cold, different, changed. Once he loved you so, she will hate you now when it's time to go. Now she is gone. She turned back and closed the door. She said, now I'm done. And now she's with someone. Now where she's gone is no turn back, I know. And now I'm all alone, drinking on my own.
All right, so welcome to Let's Talk Television, Season 2, Episode 12. So if you're not sure, this is the finale for Season 2, so it's been a hell of a season. But anyway, so today's episode, we're going to be talking about the rise of the Anthology series, so the growing popularity with Anthology series. Either, they started as an Anthology series or they're transforming into one now. So we'll talk a lot about that. I have, a lot of examples, I think 5 or 6 examples that I want to touch on. So if you're a fan of any of these shows, I mean, for sure, you'll definitely be interested in it. Now we'll go on to talk a little bit about Aaron Paul, being involved in a new show. Not going to give anything away, but he's involved in a new show, so we'll talk about that. Guillermo del Toro's new movie. We have another Breaking Bad alum, being cast in that, so we'll talk a little bit about that. And then we'll talk about the comments from the, basically the boss of HBO, saying comments about Netflix and HBO and comparing the two. So give my thoughts on that. And then, of course, we went to a weekly notable, sharing my favorite episode and favorite performance from this week in television, and then end off with a Q&A. So if you guys have any comments or questions at any time, just put them in the live chat if you're tuning in now, and I'll get to them at the end of the episode. So anyways, let's get right into it. All right, so here we are at the end of season 2. So I know in the last couple of weeks here of Let's Talk Television, it's been kind of all over the place, right? So this is supposed to be a Saturday series, but it hasn't ended up like that really lately. And so I do apologize for that. It's just kind of been, like I said, kind of sporadic, kind of all over the place here lately, with the days that, I'm doing these shows and everything like that. So anyways, I thought may as well just get it done. So there won't be an episode this week. Then we will come back with season 3 next week. So it should be Saturday next week, Saturday or Sunday, that I should have season 3 episode 1 out. And I will tell you now, I am really, debating some big changes to the show for season 3, just in terms of kind of transitioning away from more of this stuff, like talking about anthology series, like a topic, kind of transitioning from that into more of a news style show. So of course I have a something I like and something I don't like segment, where I talk a little bit about news. And I'm thinking of maybe just making that mainly the basis of this show, instead of, having this discussion at the very beginning, and kind of having a main topic for each episode. And so, let me know what you guys think of that. But that, we'll have to see by, next week for season 3, what I decide to do with that. I'm still not sure yet. I'm still thinking through it and debating it. And I, obviously I'm going to make some changes, just visual changes, of course, freshen things up a bit. I'm not sure if you noticed the last couple thumbnails I've kind of made a little bit more elaborate rather than just kind of taking, one single photo. I'm trying to make it a little bit, more, more elaborate, right? Putting a little bit more, work into those and everything. So, you can expect a lot more of that for season 3 for sure. And of course, season 3 will go along with the fall season of television. And so, yeah. So anyways, if you're looking forward to season 3, and if you've been watching season 2, you've been, maybe even this is your first episode, let me know what you think of this format. And what changes I could make for season 3, because obviously I'm definitely open to your guys' input. Yeah. Anyway, so I appreciate you guys tuning in live right now, and I appreciate you guys tuning in afterwards. As I say all the time, I recognize it's tough, right? Especially we're here on a Friday night, so it's pretty tough to get, everybody kind of in one place at one time, to watch a live episode. So anyways, do really appreciate, for those of you who tuned in afterwards as well. So, yeah, so this week, or this episode, this finale, we're going to be talking about anthology series. I thought this would be good to do because, I don't know if you caught the second episode of this season, where I talked about limited series, and I think in that episode I was talking about anthology series briefly, and I said, well, I think I should make a whole nother episode talking about anthology series, and so that's what I've done. So this is the finale episode here, and I've also kind of put this topic in here because of American Horror Story that premiered this week for season 8, and of course that's maybe the most popular anthology series on right now, I would argue, right? So, that kind of inspired this discussion as well. So, for sure. And I'll be talking about, 5 or 6 different shows here. One that's actually not out yet, but it's coming in October. And so if you're interested in any of these, you've seen any of these, please share your thoughts, join the discussion, and we can definitely talk about them, for sure. So, anyways, and this one may be a little bit long. I thought for a finale, I have quite a bit of stuff to cover. So I thought, why not, right? Let's talk for a bit, and see where it goes, kind of thing, right? So anyways, so yeah, let's jump right into it. So let's talk about anthology series. So, if you're not sure, right, anthology series is essentially, and I mean, it could be kind of different definitions, kind of depends on, what kind of shows you've seen, what kind of anthology series you've seen, right? So for example, The Sinner, they call themselves an anthology series, but they still have some characters from season 1 that are crossing over to season 2. So they've kind of bent the definition, but essentially what it is, each season of a TV series is of a different story with whole new cast and everything like that, right? So the best example I would say of that definition is American Crime Story, right? So you have season 1 about O.J. Simpson, right? So you have that whole cast there, and I don't think, I could be wrong, maybe for a minor character or something like that, but I don't think anyone from the O.J. Simpson season of American Crime Story was in the second season with Versace, right? And so you don't have any crossover. The cast is totally different. The story is totally different, right? But in terms of American Horror Story, that's a great example of, they kind of stick to the same theme, right? It's not like totally, one season is a comedy and another's a thriller, no, right? So it's under that same type of theme. It's just a different story with a whole different cast, essentially, each season, right? And so that's kind of the definition of an anthology series. But like I said, it's been changing a lot lately, and The Sinner is a great example of that, right? And even American Horror Story too. Sarah Paulson, I believe, has been in 3 or 4 seasons of it, right? And so that's that cast overlap as well. And so, quite a few definitions here, but under the broad term, essentially a show with a different season, with different a story in each season, right? So that's what it is. So anyways, as of recent, we are seeing a rise in popularity for the anthology format in TV shows. So if you think about, well, American Horror Story's been around, 8 years now, season 8. But if you think back, Fargo was one of the biggest anthology series, right? And I think American Horror Story may have been, one of the first ones too, right? And so that was kind of a new idea. But in the last, I would say, year, maybe 2 years even, the anthology series has been a rise in, it's had a rise in popularity, and it's also been, kind of, when there used to be, like a Fargo and American Horror Story, right? That was a huge thing, right? An anthology series. It was kind of a new idea, but now it's kind of just becoming, I wouldn't say the norm, but like, you know what I mean? It's kind of becoming, desensitized, I guess, kind of, right? Like they're more open to it now, right? And so I think, in this time right now, again, I'm going to go over some examples here, and there's a lot more examples than what I'm going to be talking about. But yeah, just, I wouldn't be surprised in the next, year, maybe 2 years, we are going to see a huge flux of anthology series coming out. And I think it's going to be, it's kind of going to be a trend. I honestly think, because just what I've seen in this last year has been, pretty crazy in terms of anthology series and the popularity. So, I wouldn't be surprised if we see kind of a huge flux of these series coming out. And in that regard, I mean, the idea of an anthology series was very original, right? When Fargo and American Horror Story was doing it. But now if you get a flux like that, will it still mean the same thing, and will it still have that, same, ability to entertain, right? Maybe, but maybe not, right? So it's definitely something to consider for sure. But anyways, and so, I think we can all agree, right, that there is a popularity for the anthology format in TV shows right now. And again, we see it in these examples. So, first example is The Terror. Now, season 1 of The Terror is essentially, and this is a kind of a offensive thing to summarize, the whole first season in these terms, but it's essentially, the exploration, or, the attempt to explore the Northwest Passage, right? So it's a kind of a period season, right, or period show that's kind of tackling that story. And I really enjoyed season 1 of The Terror. I thought it was really, really great. I don't know if it's probably maybe still the best season of television that I've seen in this calendar year, I would say. It was that good. So I did really enjoy The Terror. And now what they've done is, so they've had season 1, right? And they say, AMC said, this is a limited series. We're going to get 10 episodes for this one. And that's going to be it, right? And so then they go back on their word once The Terror season 1. It was very successful, and, like I said, I really enjoyed it, and I do think it deserved all the success and all the popularity that it got. I do. I think it even, deserved more than that. And so with that, right, they decide, okay, we're going to get a season 2, but we're going to turn this now into an anthology series, and we're going to have a whole different storyline. Season 2 is about, I believe, the Japanese internment camps in World War II, I believe. Though I did read a story, I think last week on TV Line, saying that they're kind of playing with the idea, they might stretch that story a little bit and make it kind of a broader thing about World War II. And so I'm not sure, right? I'm not, but I think that's kind of the main basis, the main kind of starting point for that story in season 2. So again, they've kind of now become a anthology series, right? And so that's another thing, and that's a whole category of their own, right? American Horror Story and American Crime Story, okay, well, those both started as an anthology series, but then you get The Terror, you get the Sinner, which I'm going to talk about in a minute, Castle Rock. Well, yeah, I mean, they only announced that they were going to be an anthology series when they renewed season 2, so, right, they weren't positive, they weren't sure that they were going to be an anthology series. So I would put those 3 in their own kind of category, and then I would put American Horror Story, American Crime Story, and Fargo, for example, in their own category, right? with shows that became anthologies and shows that are, anthologies, from the beginning. So anyways, The Terror is one of those that has become one, and, I'm looking forward to it. Now, I'm not trying to trash an anthology series at all here. That's not what I'm trying to do. But I'm just saying, it's a huge rise in popularity here, and The Terror is a subject of this kind of rise. And so, am I happy to see another season of The Terror? Yes, I think that it does deserve another season, and obviously the story in season 1 was complete, right? I think if they made a season 2 trying to recapture that and still tell the same story, it would have failed, right? It's just that's just the way it was from season 1. And that's just the way it was written, right? To be a one-season story. And so, their only thing to do is make an anthology series and, bring it back a season 2 with a whole different story and a whole different cast, right? And so, yeah, so that's a great example, The Terror. Next, so I'll talk about those 3 that became, and then I'll get to the others. So The Sinner is next. And this is, again, one of the ones that kind of stretches the parameters that some may say are kind of, this set in stone anthology series, parameters, right? So essentially The Sinner, they got a season 1, it says a limited series, right? And it's an 8 episode, event kind of. That's the way that USA marketed that one. And so everything went well. Season 1 was really was really well received with critics, with fans, just with everyone, right? So it was a really good first season there. Jessica Biel, amazing job. I'm really hoping she wins the Emmy on Monday. But anyways, and so yeah, so The Sinner is a great example of this because after season 1, they said, okay, well, let's take all this success and this popularity, and let's make a season 2. Right? But again, the story was all finished with season 1, right? And so they couldn't really go anywhere, but they wanted a season 2. So again, they were left with, okay, well, I guess we have to make an anthology series, and that's what they did. But the thing that's different about The Sinner is that Bill Pullman, who, well, yeah, I would say he's the second main character in season 1, even though, I mean, some of the story is told from his perspective, but, so he's the second main character from season 1 of The Sinner, and he actually comes back for season 2, and he's kind of the main focal point of season 2, so that doesn't compare to other anthology series, right? They usually never have the same cast, or if they do, in terms of American Horror Story, like Sarah Paulson, she's playing a different character, right? Like, she's playing a different character in a different role each season that she's in. And now Bill Pullman is playing the exact same character, just a few months after what season 1 was, right? And so in that sense, I mean, just like that, it's a whole different kind of anthology series. It's kind of in its own category in a way. And then we also had the return of 2 other characters in season 2 of The Sinner. So, yeah, so for sure, we're seeing a little bit of a difference there. But again, I would still argue that it fits under that anthology series blanket, and becoming an anthology series, right? And so that's what they do, right? They have a season 1, it gets really, or these 2 shows at least, it's really successful. They want to do a season 2, but they're like, oh crap, yeah, all of our story played out in season 1, we can't make another season of that, right? Okay. Let's make it an anthology series. Here's a great idea for another season, right? And again, I'm not trashing on it. I'm not trying to sound negative about it, because I do think The Sinner season 2 is good. Not as good as season 1, I have to say. And that's something as well, right? The Terror and The Sinner both, maybe even Castle Rock as well, you could throw in here. Season 1, I mean, is a season 2 anthology story gonna top the first season? Or would it, would it tarnish it? Would it be more likely to tarnish it than actually, succeed it? You know what I mean? And I would argue yes, right? Because The Terror season 1 was great, phenomenal. And are they going to be able to capture that same, that same success with a season 2? I don't know. And it's The Sinner, yeah, season 2 is actually pretty good. Honestly, it's better than I thought, right? It exceeded my expectations. And I don't know. I mean, I wouldn't say it tarnished season 1, because it is a different story and all that, but it's definitely, it's not as good as season 1, right? And that's just the reality of the show. I don't know if they'll ever make a season better than season 1, right? So, we're kind of in between here, right? Because we want another season of the show because we like season 1, but then you got to think, well, is it going to be close or better to season 1, right? And so, you know, kind of in between. But anyways, Sinner season 2 has been pretty good, right? I do have my review up for, I believe, the first 2, maybe the 2 or 3 episodes on there. I have my review up, so if you want to go check that out, you can. But anyways, so, yeah, so the Sinner season 2, not as good as season 1, but still pretty good. Honestly, it exceeded my expectations. So then Castle Rock, again, that's kind of becoming an anthology series. And you know, you could see that though, like it was more of a clear thing, because this season, you know, they told a story, right? They told us a story with characters and all this stuff from Stephen King, right? And so that we know season 2 is going to be a whole different story, but again, it's still based off Stephen King, and they're still going to have those same type of elements in it. So it's going to be different, but it's going to be kind of the same, you know, if you know what I mean. And so, again, a little bit of a different category of their own, but it's going to be a different story in season 2, right? And I really felt like Castle Rock, it was a good decision to go to an anthology series, just because of the way, you know, it was going, and it just gives them a lot more leeway to introduce more Stephen King elements into the show, right? It kind of gives them more of a creative platform to do that. So I felt like that was a very good decision for Castle Rock to do. But again, a great example of a show becoming a anthology series, right? So next category here, we have American Horror Story. So again, I don't know. I'm really not sure. I think Fargo and American Horror Story may have been even on before Fargo. I'm not sure. I'd have to definitely look. I think it was, actually. I think it started before Fargo. But anyway, so American Horror Story, one of the long-lasting anthology series. And, you know, it's still going, right? It's obviously still going and pretty damn successful. Right, and so this is a great example of an anthology series. And again, you know, is this maybe the one outlier that says, you know, maybe it's not an anthology series? Rise is not, you know, happening right now, because as we've seen in the last few seasons, now, of course, some people argue that the last few seasons have not been as good, right? And so, but, you know, some people are saying, well, you know, it's just not as good anymore, right? It doesn't have that same feeling that it did at the beginning. And so maybe after 8 years, I mean, a show is going to do that, right? Like, you know, you can be the best writer, the best showrunner, and you have the best cast. That's going to happen. After 8 seasons, 8 years, that's going to happen, right? But anyway, so American Horror Story is a great example, and it was popular, right? Like, and I think it still is. It's still fairly popular in the grand scheme of things and television, wise. But yeah, so it's just been kind of fading. So again, maybe you could make that argument, say, well, American Horror Story hasn't been doing as well lately, so maybe it's not a rise in popularity for the anthology series. So yeah, for sure, that argument could definitely be made. My next example is American Crime Story, right? So, you know, kind of running, you know, parallel there, but, you know, totally different storylines. American Crime Story is maybe the best example of a anthology, like a true anthology series, in the way they totally shift gears every season, right? So American Horror Story is like, okay, well, it's based on horror. You know, you have the same elements, you know, in seasons, right? And American Crime Story, like, they go from O.J. Simpson and that whole thing and the whole way that season was kind of crafted, and then you go to, the Assassination of Gianni Versace season 2, and it's totally different. And not just in the way that it was marketed, but just in the way that it looked on screen visually, the way they took to the way they approach the stories, right? Totally different. So I really do think that it's, you know, the true anthology series, American Crime Story, great example. And then my last example is actually coming in October. It is called The Romanovs, and this is from, what is his name? Is it Matthew Weiner? Or, yeah, Matthew Weiner, I think is his name. Anyways, so he's the, you know, guy from Mad Men. Or Mad Men, right? And so anyway, so he's doing this Romanov show on, what is it on? Is it on FX? It may be on FX, or, yeah, I think it's on FX. Is it, yeah, or is it HBO? I don't know. Anyways, and so it's coming in October, right? And the funny thing about this one is, I did some research on this. It actually looks like it's an anthology within an anthology series. like, it's kind of strange. It's kind of strange, honestly, because essentially what he's done is, he's formatted the show that each episode is essentially an anthology. So again, each episode is telling a whole different story with a different cast. And so it's interesting, right? Like, it's kind of an anthology within an anthology. And that's it, right? He's probably not going to do a season 2. It's just a limited thing. And so, yeah, so every episode is like a whole different story with whole different cast. But again, it's still under this kind of blanket of the Romanovs. It follows the same theme, but the episodes are going to be totally different storylines, and everything. So check that out. I'm looking forward to it. I just want to see, like, how this works out, right? Like, how this goes with a different story every episode and all that stuff, and how it's going to correlate. I think it's going to be really well done. I think it's going to be, I think the quality's going to be there, and I think the way that he captures, right, the atmosphere, the environment, and all that stuff with the Romanovs, I think it's going to be good, and I think it's going to be a little bit funny too. If you've seen the trailer, there's some funny parts in that, a little comedic parts in there. So I can definitely see it being a successful show here, and so we'll have to see. I mean, is that going to be another example of this? And is that part of the rise of this anthology series? I'm not sure. I think he kind of had this in his mind for a while, right? And he's kind of, putting this out now, right? Because he's finally got everything together. So anyways, we'll see how it comes out. It's coming out in October. So, stay tuned if you're interested in that. I'll probably try to do a review for it as well. But that's gonna be weird. I mean, doing a review for different episodes. It's essentially doing like a season review every week. You know what I mean? Like, it's gonna be different. So anyways, it's going to be interesting, but that's maybe another example. And so now, I want to break down my 3 reasons as to why are more shows deciding to either transform into an anthology series or start an anthology series. So just like the examples above. So my first reason I've come up with is, it lets them reinvent and rebrand the show each season, right? So it gives them that ability to stay fresh and has the ability to change things up if past things weren't working exactly as they planned, right? And I really think American Crime Story is a great example of this, of the rebranding and reinventing, right? So you see O.J. Simpson, right? That whole season, the Peel versus O.J. Simpson, right? So that was a totally different, just advertising, the way it was all laid out, the way it was, the way it was kind of broadcasted even, right? Like, it was a totally different entity as Gianni Versace. Gianni Versace was bright, in your face, everything like that. They really, really pushed the Gianni Versace part of it, right? And that was a huge part of it, right? So those 2 seasons, the way it was marketed, the way it actually came out on screen, totally different, right? But it's still the same show, we have to remember. And so that's a great thing. American Horror Story would be another great example of this, because they're able to rebrand that every single season that they do. And if you think of a show like, let's say Game of Thrones, right? That Game of Thrones, season to season, yeah, they changed the advertising up. It looks a little bit different, but it's still under that same show, and what's going to happen that season, right? But with an anthology series, you have that ability to pretty much, make a new show every season, right? And to be able to, reinvent your show if something goes wrong in that, So let's say you have The Sinner, right? Or, well, The Sinner's not a great example because they didn't know they were doing it. But anyway, so let's say American Horror Story. So you're at season 8 now, and season 7 last season, you saw that maybe the pacing was a little too slow, right, for that season. So then you come back for season 8, and you can totally change that without any argument or anything of the viewers saying, oh, well, the pacing totally changed. But it's a whole new season with a whole new story, right? And so you have that ability to do that, to change up. So that's definitely the first reason there. Second reason, pretty obvious, but they want to seize on the popularity and money, right? So this really only applies to shows who transform into one, though, because American Horror Story, of course, they already knew that they were an anthology series. But anyway, so The Terror, The Sinner, Castle Rock, I'd say, are all great examples of this. Sinner, really popular, made probably a lot of money for USA Network. So did The Terror in terms of AMC, and Castle Rock in terms of Hulu. So they say, okay, well, we should do a second season because this is really popular and it made a lot of money for us. So we should do it, right? And so I still argue that that's why 13 Reasons Why went along with a season 2. But anyways, that's kind of a discussion for a whole nother discussion, but or a whole nother day. Sorry. Anyway, so that's 2 reasons. My third reason is instead of creating multiple similar shows, this is a great way to bring completely different stories together under a similar blanket theme, right? And so American Horror Story, again, a great example of this, right? Instead of creating multiple kind of horror story shows, right? One about, Coven, one about, Apocalypse, right? You create an apocalyptic horror show, right? You're kind of limited to that, right? But if it's an anthology series, you're able to do it with, one season is this, next season is this, next season is this, right? But it still can all fall under the same kind of term of horror, right? So you see there, it just gives them a really great creative platform. Again, like I said before, for Castle Rock, that's maybe the biggest thing, is this creative platform that an anthology series gives the creators of the show, right? I mean, the creators of an anthology series have so much more opportunities in terms of creativeness than shows that are stuck, with the status quo for 8 years, right? Like a Game of Thrones or The Walking Dead. Right. And so, that freedom is definitely something that, maybe a lot of creators or a lot of showrunners may really thrive for, may really go for. So anyways, that can definitely be one as well. So anyways, those are my 3 reasons. If you think of anything else to add, for sure, let me know. So anyways, but I will say, out of this whole discussion, a notable point to remember, though, is with more and more anthology series being formed, I would argue that shows like The Walking Dead, Game of Thrones, and the likes will be appreciated more for their longevity and consistency, right? So if we see a huge rise in anthology series, like I said, next couple years, 3 years, we see a huge rise, right? So let's say we see a huge rise in anthology series. And then we got to remember, there's still shows like The Walking Dead. Well, Game of Thrones will be ending, but there's still a show like The Walking Dead that's been on 9 years, and it's still going. It's still somewhat successful. You could argue that, but it's still kind of successful, right? Still gets viewers. And it's been consistent for 9 years, right? So that, I think that those shows are going to get more appreciated, even though they do get, they get pretty good appreciation now from viewers who recognize how long that show has been on. But I think they even get more, especially if people are seeing all these anthology series and thinking, wow, they do a different thing each season. That must be pretty cool for them. But how is The Walking Dead doing it for 10 years, doing the same exact story with most of the same cast, right? So, just really crazy to think about in that, in terms of that. And, I'm not sure that, maybe shows like The Walking Dead or Game of Thrones, maybe you could argue with this rise, maybe those shows cease to exist. Maybe, right? I mean, and that's kind of an extreme, point of view, of course. But maybe those shows cease to exist. Maybe dramas just won't be that long anymore. Maybe people just don't have the patience, and maybe creators and showrunners don't want to be kind of burdened with the story for the same story for 10 years, for example, right? And so maybe that's another point to make too. So anyways, out of this whole discussion, all in all, I welcome more anthology series. I'm down for them, right? And I truly believe that they are on the rise in television. I think we're going to see a lot more than there are right now in 2 years down, 1 year or 2 year down the road, anything like that. I think we're gonna see a lot more of them. And like I said, bring them on, right? I welcome them. I think I'm a fan of them, right? I've checked out season 8 American Horror Story. I like American Crime Story. I like The Terror. I like The Sinner. I like Castle Rock, right? I like all these shows. And so, I definitely welcome more. And I'm not trying to be negative, right? That's not what I'm saying. I'm just saying there's going to be a rise here in popularity, and there already has been. And so what is that going to mean, right? So what do you guys think of that one? What is your favorite anthology series? And if you don't watch one, what are the ones you've heard of before? Stuff like that. I know there's a lot of, American Horror Story is pretty damn popular. American Crime Story is pretty popular. So yeah, for sure, you've definitely heard of them. Let me know which one's your favorite, which ones, you checked out. And what do you think of this whole discussion? Do you think there's a rise, and do you think it's going to grow in the next couple of years? So anyways, guys, that'll just about do it for the main topic of this episode here. And now I'll get on to my segment of something I like and something I don't like. This segment will be a little bit longer in this episode, just because there was literally 7 pieces of news that I wanted to cover today. It's crazy. And it was only in 6 days. 6 days. I had 7 huge news pieces that I wanted to cover. So I had to pick 3. It's usually only 2 for this segment, but I had to pick 3 because I really want to talk about all 3. So this one will be a little bit longer. So anyways, and as always, there should be a, clips for, probably all 3 of them, yeah. There should be clips on the channel. I am going to keep doing that for Season 3 as well. So for sure, again, no, I don't want it to get and feel like spam on the channel. I don't want it to get to that point. So, if you guys ever, kind of see, and I'm going to obviously, keep track of this and keep in mind, but, if it starts to become spamming, in your opinion, let me know, right? I don't want to, overdo it, but I do like the idea of having those clips on the channel so that people can kind of watch that, even though they may not be interested in the, 45, 50-minute episode of Let's Talk Television. Maybe they can tune into that, and maybe that's a point of interest for them and they want to see that. So anyways, but let me know if you guys think it's becoming too spammy, maybe it's too much on the channel, and that's not something that I want to reach, right? So anyways, just let me know, right? But anyways, so something I like from this week in television: Westworld. Aaron Paul joins HBO sci-fi series for Season 3. This one is from Deadline Hollywood. You know what? I saw this article, I believe, on Wednesday. I saw this article, I think, on Wednesday. Or was it yesterday? I think it was maybe yesterday. Anyways, so I saw this article. I didn't believe it at first. I honestly, I read Aaron Paul. I read Westworld and then Aaron Paul. And I was thinking, no. No way, right? No, that's not true, right? So I actually looked it up on Google, right? And I'm like, there's no way that this article is right. And, I see a bunch of other articles talking about it. So crazy news. And honestly, this is amazing news, in my opinion. So anyway, the article is actually very short on Deadline Hollywood. I pretty much am going to say the whole article. Essentially, there's a couple points in there just talking about the production of Westworld, but other than that, it's a short article. So anyways, but the link will be in the description after this video is published in public, if you want to check it out. But anyways, here we go. So HBO's sprawling sci-fi drama series Westworld is getting a major new cast addition. Former The Path and Breaking Bad star Aaron Paul is joining the recently ordered 3rd season of the series. The producers are being tight-lipped on the character, but I hear Paul will be a series regular. Awesome news, right? And I wouldn't expect anything less if you're going to get a guy like Aaron Paul, right? So Paul is a 3-time Emmy winner for his co-starring role as Jesse Pinkman on AMC's Breaking Bad. He most recently headlined Hulu's The Path. And so that's it. And for me, what this news means is one of my favorite actors on television on one of my favorite shows on television. So this is honestly the best of both worlds. Westworld Season 2, I would say, took a step down from Season 1, though it was still very entertaining. I like the way that they kind of branched out in Season 2 and included more of the other worlds. Not just the Westworld, you know what I mean? So yeah, I really did like Season 2 in that regard. I feel like it was a little bit of a step down, but Season 3, man, I'm hyped, It'll probably be in 2 years from now. No, I'm just joking. They're both good fun. Anyways, it'll probably be a year and a half, realistically, from now. But anyways, I'm looking forward to it nonetheless. I think it's going to be awesome. And to hear Aaron Paul joining Westworld, I mean, he hasn't had, a big role like this since Breaking Bad. Again, he's been in The Path on Hulu. He's been involved with BoJack Horseman a little bit. I believe on Netflix that one is, but he hasn't had a huge role in a huge show in a while, right? And so this is going to be huge for Aaron Paul. It's great to see him back. So, on a big stage in television, and now he's going to be on HBO. I don't think he's been on HBO before, so that's pretty damn cool for Aaron Paul. And you know what? Even if you're not a huge fan of Aaron Paul, you know, I don't know many people that aren't, but if you're not, I still think you got to recognize and you got to, you know, appreciate, you know, what he's done in terms of Breaking Bad and, you know, the type of stuff that he's, you know, laid as a television actor. I mean, he has been amazing, right? And he was really great in Breaking Bad, of course, Breaking Bad, my favorite show. So it's great to see a Breaking Bad alum joining one of my favorite shows on right now, Westworld. So this is just amazing news, guys. You know, let me know what you guys think of this one. Again, I think the article came out yesterday, so this is pretty new news. And yeah, so really awesome stuff here. Again, I'm not sure when season 3 will be. Probably at least a year and a half, maybe, or at least a year, probably a year and a half from now. But I'm really looking forward to it. Now, what characters are you gonna play? Let the speculation begin, right? I don't think none of us really know. None of us have an idea, but I'm sure people will be out there, you know, speculating. And for sure, let's start, right? You know, you can never start too soon. But anyways, Aaron Paul joining Westworld, gonna be awesome stuff there. So that is something I like from this week in television for sure. All right, so on to the next one. Now, this is one that I honestly kind of laughed at first, and then I saw that people were, like, really taking this seriously and, like, getting heated about this. And I was like, honestly, I thought it was kind of funny at first, but anyways, apparently not. I mean, for some people, they're taking this pretty damn seriously. But anyway, so something I like from this week in television, AT&T boss Randall Stevenson. So AT&T boss is the boss of HBO. I mean, not exactly the boss of HBO, but he is kind of the overarching boss of HBO, right? So a few people were confused about this when the story did come out. But yeah, so he's essentially the boss of HBO, right? So anyways, so Randall Stevenson says HBO is the Tiffany and Netflix is the Walmart of subscription video. And so this is just a great headline too. So this is from Deadline Hollywood again. This will be in the description once the video is public and published on the channel. So go check it out. This one actually is quite long, so you can check out the rest of it. Of course, I'm not going to, talk about everything in the article. So anyways, here we go. So AT&T CEO Randall Stevenson said in the subscription video landscape, HBO is the Tiffany to Netflix's Walmart. While he poked the streaming giant, he said the focus at Warner Media, who, is the broad, owner of HBO, is increasing the spending and output of HBO. You'd like to fill out the schedule, he says on HBO, but we're not talking about Netflix scale investments. The increasingly tight competition between HBO and Netflix, especially with the latter matching the former stride for stride in the Emmy race lately and pledging $12 billion a year to original content, has put Warner Media at a crossroads. So there's a little bit more in that last actually sentence than kind of what, the CEO making the statement. So maybe we'll tackle that in a minute. First, I just, I thought this was kind of funny. I thought it was like just kind of a off the cuff remark. And people are taking this seriously. Like, people are getting offended. Like, people, Netflix fans are like, that's not true. It's not a Walmart or whatever. But anyways, maybe I just watch, too many insiders and stuff like that in television. I don't know. But anyways, so HBO is the Tiffany and Netflix is the Walmart. Now, if we think about this a little bit more, I mean, why does he have to say this? Probably he does not have to say this, right? This isn't something that he had to come out and say, and he definitely could have said it in a more formal way, for sure, right? But again, did it get attention? Did it get people talking? Yes, right? So, and there's a thing, right? No publicity is bad publicity, right? Is that true in this case? Maybe, right? And we also do have to consider, I mean, many people are debating if this is true or not, right? But some people are actually just mad that he made this statement as well. But I would honestly agree. I would agree with this statement. I think HBO is the Tiffany, or in terms of, if you don't get the Tiffany Walmart comparison, kind of, HBO is kind of the higher end store compared to kind of the deals, the kind of the cheap store, you know what I mean? And so that's what Netflix is. So honestly, but I would agree. I would agree with the statement. I think HBO is kind of that upper end, it's known for its quality. You know what I mean? Like HBO, you see a show on HBO and you say, okay, well, that's going to be a quality show, right? Even if the show is terrible, even if now this doesn't happen much on HBO either, but if the writing's terrible, you know, the cast is terrible, you know that show is going to look good. You know that the production value of that show is going to be good, right? And so, you know, just in that regard, HBO is a step up on Netflix for sure. Now, I think Netflix does have more subscribers than HBO for sure. And we also see in this last little point here that Netflix is matching them in the Emmy race, but is spending a lot more money on content, $12 billion a year on just original content, right? So that's only their original shows and movies. So, and that's another point too. I mean, is every Netflix show quality? Is that production value there, right? And so not even talking about, is the show good? Is the writing good? Is the cast good? I'm not even talking about that. I'm talking about strictly production value and quality. Do the two line up? No. I don't think you can say with a straight face that these two networks line up. These two subscription line up. It's just not real. It's not reality. HBO is the better subscription. Now, again, HBO has been around for longer than Netflix, too. So we have to consider that. But anyways, do I agree with the overall statement? Yes. You know, I do think it's true. Now, Netflix is making big strides, though. Again, like it says, they're matching them in the Emmy race, which is pretty damn good. But again, I mean, HBO has a few shows, right, that bring in a lot of Emmys. And Netflix, again, a few shows that bring in a lot of Emmys. But I would argue that Netflix has kind of, a handful of shows that get a lot of Emmys, right? And HBO has kind of a broader collection of shows that kind of get, a lot of Emmys. You know what I mean? So HBO, I feel, is spread out, and Netflix is kind of condensed, right? Stranger Things, So you just think of 3 or 4 of those shows on Netflix that are big Emmy winners, right? Big in terms of the critics. And then you think of HBO, and you think, oh, wow, you think of maybe 8 or 10 shows that are, winning Emmys and everything. So definitely kind of a different spread there for both networks. And again, did the CEO have to come out and say this? No. Should he have maybe said it in a more formal fashion? Yes. Does he have any reason to really, talk bad about Netflix? I don't know. I don't think so, right? But anyways, it boosts HBO, right? He's saying good stuff about HBO. So anyways, that's all I have for there. Those are my thoughts. So I agree with the statement. I think it's true. And I'm not hating on Netflix. I do like Netflix, but I do like HBO better, to be honest, and I just feel that's a true statement. I think HBO is better than Netflix in terms of that quality, right? So again, it's a whole different discussion if you're just talking about comparing shows, in terms of, their plot and the characters and the cast and everything. That's a whole different discussion to be had. This discussion is mainly just about production value and quality, and in that sense, HBO wins. So anyways, those are my thoughts on that little comment there, which I really feel got blown out of proportion. But anyways, that is it there. Okay, so my last one here, so I did say I had 3, and they're all likes, by the way. I couldn't find anything that I didn't like, and so something I like, now this one is kind of going over into the movie world here a little bit. How are we doing for time? Okay, and so this one is going a little bit over to the movie time here, or the movie kind of category here, but it does involve a television actor, so that's why I'm including it here. So Guillermo, I think is it Guillermo? Yeah, Guillermo del Toro's Scary Stories to Tell in the Dark casts a Breaking Bad star. So this is from Entertainment Weekly. Again, this article will be in the description of this video after it is published and published up on the channel. This one is quite extensive, so you can go on and read all about it. It actually goes into detail about Scary Stories to Tell in the Dark, the film, and some of the plot points and stuff, and some of the other cast members. So if you want to go check out, if you're interested in this movie, be my guest. Check out the article in the description and read up on it yourself. But I'm kind of just focusing on this Breaking Bad star component of the article. So Breaking Bad's Dean Norris, right? Hank from Breaking Bad. So Dean Norris, having a jaunt in Stephen King's world and Under the Dome, joins the movie cast with Patriots Gil Bellows and Into the Badlands Lorraine Toussaint. And so those are two other ones that have, been part of this casting announcement. Guillermo del Toro has a fondness for both fantastical and horrifying creatures. Now the Oscar winner lends his mind for the screenplay he co-wrote with Kevin Hageman, Dan Hageman, Patrick Melton, and Marcus Dunstan. And then this is in quotes, Lorraine, Gil, and Dean are exceptionally talented actors who also happen to be game for all of the creepy madness that this film entails. And that's from the director Andre Ovredal, I think. And so he's saying that about these actors. And then he goes on and says, we are thrilled to have them aboard our macabre little train. So, just kind of using that language again for the movie. And then it ends off with currently filming in Toronto, Scary Stories to Tell in the Dark follows a group of teens who must solve the mystery surrounding a wave of spectacularly horrific deaths in their small town. And so I have heard of this movie before, and I have heard that it's in production. It's coming out next year, 2019. Obviously, we don't have a date yet, right? They're still filming. But I'm sure it'll be kind of later 2019, if I had to guess. And so this is just awesome, though. I love to see Dean Norris getting a part in this movie. I really did enjoy him in Under the Dome. Breaking Bad, I think him in Breaking Bad is like my favorite of him as an actor, and I don't think that's going to change. But anyway, so I did really like him in Under the Dome and that kind of horror, genre, and I think he's going to be amazing in this movie. Now, I'm not sure how much of a role he's going to play. I'm not sure how big his role actually will be in this, right? It doesn't really say. We don't really know yet. But, I mean, there is an announcement for his casting, so I do think he's going to play, kind of an important character, but maybe not a lot of screen time, is what I'm thinking. So, anyways, it's really great to hear this, though. I really have been supporting Dean Norris. I usually check, if he's involved in some, I usually check it out, right? I even checked out, I believe it's called Claws, right? It's called Claws, and he's in that, and I really like him in that. He's kind of funny in that, actually. I only checked out the first couple episodes, though, and then I just got bogged down with a bunch of other shows, as usual, and I didn't get back to it. So that's one that I am going to try to finish eventually. But, yeah, so he's been in Under the Dome, Breaking Bad, Claws he's been in recently, and he's been doing some really, he's playing a lot of kind of small parts in a lot of different projects. And so it's really great to see him get this part in the Scary Stories to Tell in the Dark. And I'm definitely going to be checking this one out. Again, Guillermo del Toro coming off Shape of Water. He's really something, right? And he's not directing this one, though, so he is a writer of the screenplay that he co-wrote with 4 other writers. So it's kind of interesting here. And again, because he's such a big name, like it says here, Guillermo del Toro's Scary Stories, right? So they're kind of like putting his name to the movie and kind of saying, it's his movie. Well, all he did was co-write this screenplay with 4 other people, and they're already making it his movie, right? So there's a little bit of stuff here, because I thought, oh, well, that means he's directing it, but he's not. So, it's just kind of the reputation that he has, and of course, it's an amazing reputation, right? And so that's what it is. So I think it's going to be something, it's based off a book as well, so if you read the book, you kind of have an idea of what it's going to be about. But yeah, so it's going to be like Pan's Labyrinth, Shape of Water. That's just what, Guillermo del Toro is kind of into and the way he writes. And it's going to be nice. So, or not nice, but it's going to be well done, I think. It's definitely going to be good. So anyways, checking that one out. And I'm really glad to see Dean Norris getting attached to that project. And I actually saw this through his Twitter. His Twitter is actually pretty fun. I think he's a pretty funny guy on there. So if you don't follow him, I suggest it. He's definitely worth the follow. But anyway, so I think he posted this on his Twitter, and that's how I found it. So anyways, great to see Dean Norris attached to this project, and I'm looking forward to it. Again, kind of, venturing into the movie avenue here. But anyways, so really great to see, and I'm looking forward to it for sure. Alright, so that'll just about do it for something I like and something I don't like segment. Again, I apologize for it being a little bit longer, but that's just what it is. And so, again, for Season 3, I think that I'm going to do more like this. I think this is going to be the focus of the episode. I kind of giving my thoughts on news rather than kind of covering a topic at the beginning like this one. So, again, but we'll have to see where that goes. All right, so now let's get to the next segment here, my weekly notables. So this is where I outline my notable episode and my notable performance from this week in television from only shows that I have seen this week, right? So if you're out there saying, this show here, this actor gave a great performance, how are you not giving that notable performance, right? It's probably because I haven't seen it, right? So, it's only shows that I have seen, and I think I saw 7 episodes this week. So, I did have kind of a big pool to choose from. I think in last week's episode, I only saw Ozark. So, it just changes week to week. It just depends on how much TV I watch. But usually 6 to 7 episodes a week is my average. I know maybe that's a little high for some people. I bet some people watch more than that. But, those are 6 different shows. Those are 6 or 7 different shows. Maybe I have a problem. I don't know. Anyways, I'm just joking. But anyway, so my notable episode for this week is going to be Power Season 5, Episode 10, the finale, When This Is Over. This was a great episode. I did really like it. It brought everything together. It really did. This whole season was kind of building up to this here. And I did really enjoy it, honestly. I thought it kind of brought everything together. It kind of, didn't leave any huge cliffhanger at the very end of the episode, but it kind of, tied all those knots, right, that were kind of left untied. And it did a really good job of kind of wrapping that up. And again, gave us a great cliffhanger for the end of the season, and also set up a lot of great stuff that's going to be coming in season 6. So anyways, I thought it was a really good episode. There were a couple things in here, scenes that I felt like just really didn't belong in a finale episode. I just felt like it was kind of wasting time. But other than that, I thought it was a really great episode and a great way to finish off this season 5. One thing I love about Power, and I say this to my friends who I'm trying to get them to watch it, I say, this is one of the shows, and there's a few other shows like this for sure. This isn't the only one. But it's one of those shows where you tune in, week to week, and you don't know what the hell they are going to do. This show is willing to do pretty much anything. I mean, outside of the 4, not even now after the season 5 now. I don't want to spoil anything, but, outside of maybe the 3 main characters, anyone could die at any episode in this show. That's just the way it is. The stakes are so high every single episode, and so I just love that. I love that in a show where, anyone could die at any moment. This could happen. They could find out this, right? The biggest secret could be exposed completely. And so it's crazy to think about when you get a show like that. And that's why I love Power, And the cast is really great, too. So that's another great thing. And the creator, Courtney Kemp, Egbo, I think. Some people only call her Courtney Kemp, but I think her last name is Egbo. So, anyways, she's really great. She's awesome. So, anyways, notable episode there. My notable performance from this week in television, it was pretty clear cut. It's going to be Sarah Paulson from American Horror Story, Season 8, Episode 1, The End. I just recently did my review for this one, so if you haven't seen it, check it out on the channel. It should be the last video before this one. And she's also in the thumbnail for this episode, Let's Talk Television. Anyway, so Sarah Paulson gave a great performance. Her character is going to be an interesting one to kind of learn about here in this season 8. And I just really thought she was great. And, obviously this maybe has to do with her reputation as well from past things. But I honestly thought she was amazing in this episode. And for her to play kind of such a dynamic character that she is, I think she's doing an amazing job. So, anyways, Sarah Paulson gets the nod for me for this week for notable performance. And I did really enjoy the Season 8 episode. I will say I haven't seen any other seasons, so a lot of people I see out there are like, this is happening, and he's from Season 1 and all this stuff, because it's supposed to be like a crossover, and I didn't know that, of course, because I haven't seen any of the other seasons. And so in the review, if you're finding that maybe confusing, that's why. But I do state right away, I'm like, I haven't seen it, don't, point out to me that this and this happened in Season 1 and it's all coming back, because I won't get it, right? But anyways, I still enjoyed it, and I think Sarah Paulson's doing an amazing job. Is it, up to par with her American Crime Story, the O.J. Simpson performance? Maybe. I mean, maybe. I think she's just a really great actress. I think she's one of the great TV actresses really on right now. I think she's one of the greatest. She's amazing. So anyways, she gets the nod there. So anyways, that'll just about do it for this episode of Let's Talk Television. So I did say this one's going to be a little bit long. This will probably be the longest episode so far of the season. And I had a lot to talk about. So anyways, it looks like Polka Dot Livingston left something in the chat. Oh, man, I can't see it. Okay. Anyways, I think, yeah, okay. So Polka Dot Livingston did comment here, but I can't see it. I always rant about this, but the top chat and the live chat, it seems like these messages get lost within the... So if I have the top chat toggled, I can only see a message there, and then I go to live chat, and then I go back, and it's gone. But I think it says retracted message or something like that. So maybe... He left a message and then it got lost or got deleted or something. I'm not sure. Anyways, Polka Dot Livingston, thank you for leaving a comment. I'm sorry that I couldn't answer and I couldn't see it. That's horrible. But anyways, I don't know. I got to get this straightened out. I got to figure out the difference between the two and, figure out to toggle one of them so I can see the difference. But anyway, so, thank you for leaving a comment. And if you deleted it or whatever, maybe I answered your question already in the episode. That's fine too. So anyways, that'll just about do it then for Let's Talk Television Season 2. So that'll be just about it. So anyways, thank you so much for watching this season. I don't know if anyone is out there that's seen all episodes of this season, but if you have, I mean, I'm so thankful for that. That's awesome. Anyways, I really enjoyed this season, but I feel like Season 3 is going to be bigger and better, right? And just like this one was bigger and better than Season 1. So anyways, going to be making a lot of changes and some more channel changes for the fall season upcoming. So there's going to be a lot of, new stuff on the channel, and I hope you guys like it. Not, changing the channel or anything, just kind of, freshening it up, making some new changes. So anyways, again, thanks so much for watching this season of Let's Talk Television. Thank you so much for watching this episode. I really enjoyed putting together this episode, and some really great news from this week. Really, honestly, it was great. So anyways, guys, once again, thanks so much for the support on the channel. I really do really appreciate it. It's been awesome lately. I think we're at 176 subscribers or something like that. I don't even know how many views anymore, 76,000 or something like that, like crazy stuff. So anyways, really thankful for that. We're coming up almost on my 200th video on YouTube, so I may be doing something special for that. It's just, awesome stuff lately with the channel. So, again, I do really appreciate it. Check out some of the reviews on the channel if you haven't seen them, and that'll be just about it for me. Anyways, thank you guys, and we'll see you not this week, but next week for Let's Talk Television Season 3 kicking off on the channel. So please stay tuned for that, and please check it out. But anyways, guys, again, that'll do it for me. Thank you for tuning in, and we'll see you in a couple weeks for Let's Talk Television. Thanks, guys. See you later.